My instruction, we don't need the votes. I have so many votes.
We don't need votes. I tell my people, I don't need any votes. We got all the votes we need. I don't need votes. We don't need votes. We got more votes than anybody's ever had. You don't have to vote. Don't worry about voting. The voting, we got plenty of votes.
Don't worry about voting. Of all the weirdness around this campaign, this is a truly strange thing to tell people, right? Don't vote. I don't need your vote. I don't want your vote. I mean, all the surface level weirdness is, worth noting. But telling voters, do not bother to vote for me. It doesn't matter if you do. I don't need your votes. That is a thing that should prick up your ears. Because what that means is that he doesn't think he needs to win the vote to win the election. He doesn't think he needs to win the election in order to take power.
Well, there it is. Rachel Maddow cutting right to the heart of it. Donald Trump, weeks before the election, saying that he doesn't need any more votes. Kind of strange, isn't it? The person who's always crying about fraud suddenly says he doesn't need any more votes. And it's like he knows the outcome of the election before it's even happened, before a single ballot is even cast. It raises the question, just how much did Donald Trump think he could control the outcome of this election? And of course, this isn't the last that we hear on the subject. Far from it, actually. Next thing you know, he's telling his fans to cast multiple ballots, to actually break the law. Here it is in his own words.
On your ballots, if you get the unsolicited ballots, send it in, and then go make sure it counted. And if it doesn't tabulate, you vote. You just vote. And then if they tabulate it very late, which they shouldn't be doing, they'll see you voted, and so it won't count. So send it in early, and then go and vote. And if it's not tabulated, you vote, and the vote is going to count. You can't let them take your vote away. These people are playing dirty politics. Dirty politics.
Unbelievable. The man who calls himself the defender of democracy is telling his supporters to cheat and lie. Plain and simple. And the response from his supporters? Silence. They're not appalled. They don't say, how dare you? It's like it goes in one ear and out the other. Because they've decided, with Donald Trump, the rules just simply don't apply. And it gets even stranger. Lara Trump, in a move to be, I guess, daughter-in-law of the year and support her father-in-law's ambitions, proposed a radical new change. Her suggestion? A federal election law that would override state laws. Yes, the party that's always screaming about states' rights, give it back to the states. They're so ready to throw all of that out the window when it comes to Donald Trump's interests.
I've said for a long time, and I think you've said the same thing too, we don't have a perfect system right now. We had to get through this system and we had to play the hand that we were dealt. You have election season now instead of election day, and a lot of nuance around the country that makes it very confusing and really concerning for a lot of people. Yes, maybe now is the time, once Donald Trump is inaugurated, we go forward and maybe we have something that passes so that we can have a blanket federal election process that every state abides by, and we feel really good about it all across the country. Every American deserves to know that in the United States, when you cast a vote, your vote matters and your vote counts.
And now, guys, we get to the irony of it all. Steve Kerr, a man who's seen his fair share of competition on the court, points out the hypocrisy as clear as anyone could. It seems that all claims of fraud magically disappear as soon as Trump is on the winning side. Take a listen.
I'm just thankful that there wasn't any voting fraud this time. It's last time, all those illegal immigrants who crashed the border and raped and murdered people and then voted 6 times. That was unfortunate, but thankfully this time everything was clean. So it's great that every election has been really valid, except for that last one 4 years ago. So twinkle in my eye as I say that, in case you couldn't see it. But no, I believe in democracy. I believe in the will of the people, and I will do everything I can to support my country and our government. And I want nothing but the best for us.
And the coach has got a point, you guys. This so-called integrity issue really isn't about the facts. It's about who's winning. And if you think that sounds cynical, Just listen to Congressman McGovern give an even harsher reality for us. Those same people who are complaining about the fraud are the ones that have been carrying it out. Yes, the Republicans, the ones waving the fairness flag, the integrity flag, they're the ones bending the rules to suit their own agenda.
Mr. Speaker, let's set something straight. Non-citizens cannot vote in federal elections. Let me repeat that. Non-citizens cannot vote in federal elections. And if they vote, it is illegal. It is a crime. I mean, do Republicans really want to talk about the threat of voter fraud? Well, let me remind the American people, the only ones committing voter fraud in an attempt to overthrow an election are Republicans. We've seen this movie before. Following Trump's loss in 2020, in the 2020 election, he and his cronies allegedly conspired to overturn the will of the American people by submitting fake electors to falsely certify that Trump won the election. He didn't win the election. He lost the election. And what did those efforts get them? Well, let me tell you. Dozens of people across 4 states have been indicted over this election fraud scheme.
And while Trump Circle pushes these narratives, it's Fox News that has to pay the price for amplifying them, to the tune of $800 million to be exact. Jessica Tarblov put it best when she called out the network for continuing to feed into Trump's election lies, all to keep their viewers happy and to keep Trump in their corner.
To say that Joe Biden is the threat to democracy, considering what Donald Trump and his band of lawyers tried to pull off in 2020, is complete insanity. I mean, he dispatched lawyers all over the country to overturn a free and fair election. A lot of them have pled out to doing this. A lot of them are still to face trial. And he's doing his darndest to make sure that he doesn't have to show up in any of these courtrooms because he's definitely afraid of what's going to happen there. And as many of these January 6th
He's not afraid of anything.
Oh, big man, not afraid, whatever.
I know him.
Okay, I'm sure you do know him, and I don't know him, but I don't think that man who doesn't want to even sleep in a hotel bed wants to go to jail. So don't refute what happened. We know about Sidney Powell. We know about John Eastman, who just got disbarred. Rudy Giuliani, who's obviously not in very good position, how the mighty have fallen.
You know, amid all this deception, there is one voice of reason. President Joe Biden. He reminds us all that to love our country means to accept its democratic process, even when it's an outcome that you don't want. You can't only love your country when you win. A simple truth that Donald Trump and his supporters can't seem to get behind.
I know for some people, it's a time for victory, to state the obvious. For others, it's a time of loss. Campaigns are contests of competing visions. The country chooses one or the other. We accept the choice the country made. I've said many times, you can't love your country only when you win. You can't love your neighbor only when you agree. Something I hope we can do, no matter who you voted for, is see each other not as adversaries, but as fellow Americans. Bring down the temperature.
So where does this leave us? Donald Trump and his allies are doing everything in their power to continue to undermine the people's confidence in our election process, pushing a narrative that the system only works if they're winning. If we let this go unchecked, if we let them continue to undermine our democratic process, then we're saying that the truth simply doesn't matter, that democracy is just a game. And that's a dangerous message for the future of America, and one that cannot go unchecked.